Go ahead.
ప్రార్థన కోసం ప్రత్యేకమైన టయాలు ఏమన్నా ఉన్నాయా, లేకపోతే ఇట్లాంటి క్వశ్చన్స్ ఏమన్నా ఉంటే అడగమని రబ్బాయి చెప్తున్నారు. అడగండి. అడగండి, క్వశ్చన్స్ అడగండి.
కాదు, ఇప్పుడు మార్నింగ్ ఒక టైం, మధ్యాహ్నం మార్నింగ్ 6:30. ఏ టైమింగ్ తీసుకోవాలి? మార్నింగ్ షహరిత్ కంపల్సరీ ఎప్పుడు కంప్లీట్ చేసుకోవాలి? వెనక ఏ టైం స్టార్ట్ చేయాలి? ఆరోహిత్ ఏ టైం స్టార్ట్ చేయాలి?
Here the question is, which time we start the Shahrit, Minka and Arvit?
Oh boy.
Here we read that in the morning and evening we read Shema.
Correct.
So which time? It means sunset before, sunset after, sunrise before, like that. What is the better time to do the prayers?
So normally when someone says Shaharit, they are talking about the morning Shema and the morning AMIDÁH prayer. Normally when they say Shaharit, they're talking about both of these concepts, the morning Shema and the morning AMIDÁH prayer. But those two things have different laws. The Shema can be said a long time before sunrise, before the sun comes up, when it's bright enough to tell the difference between when it's bright enough that you can see and identify a person from a certain distance away, even before the sun rises, or I think I'm getting too complicated. Basically, the time for the Shema is a little bit before sunrise, and I don't want to get into the details about why exactly, because it will be too complicated. But I can send you a link. You just type in prayer times.
This is not complicated because we have some doubts. We are in Sabbath, we are doing in late hours. It means after sunrise, about 9, 10, like that. We are doing on the time. So if we know what is the particular time, then we don't want to miss the time.
Okay, I'm going to show you something to make it simple. My ZMANÍM. ZMANÍM means times. .com. Did I spell it correctly?
CHI.
Okay. Like that?
Yeah.
Okay. India. Right? India. Kerala. Okay. This is going to show us for today. If you click here, it will give us tomorrow. If you click here, it will give us Shabbat of this coming weekend. It will tell you for your local time in Kerala when does Shabbat officially end? 6:48 p.m. The earliest time to put on a talit. We do not put on tefillin on Shabbat, but the earliest time you can put on a talit with a blessing, 5:17 in the morning. This is making it simple. If we go into the detail about how you can know this by yourself without using this website, then it will be more confusing. But the easiest... Go ahead.
Can I ask one question?
Of course, of course.
Who prepared this chart?
So the concept of when you begin Shema and when is too late to make the Shema, these concepts, also with the prayers for Minha, all of the prayers, these concepts are pretty much completely agreed upon by all the Jewish communities in the world. There are some disagreements, but the disagreements are very, very small. The disagreements for most of the Jewish world is a disagreement of like a few minutes. They're not substantial differences. So as long as you finish or begin around these times, as long as you, like, let's say, add a few minutes to be safe, then you're going to be safe, according to basically all opinions. The biggest difference of these opinions is what they call the time according to the Gra and the Ba'ala Tanya. These times, they are correct even according to most people, but they're correct only for very northern regions of the world, or maybe for very southern regions, like parts of Europe, very, very north. The reason it's different there is because it's so far from the equator. But for most of the Middle East, for India, any place that's not very far north, this is more accurate. And like I said, these times are pretty much agreed upon by everybody, with a difference of like just disagreements of maybe a few minutes. So let's say, for example, you want to do Shema in the morning.
And our
So,
timings,
say what?
Our timings. We are doing Shema, Shahrit at 6:40 in the morning.
Okay. So sunrise in Kerala is currently around 5:56. These times change throughout the year because the earth moves, right? The earth tilts. So right now it's 5:56 as sunrise. Maybe in a few more months it'll be a little bit later. But if you know when sunrise is, then I can tell you, if you look in the laws of prayer in the Mishneh Torah, you will see that our sages wanted us to begin saying Shema before sunrise. They wanted us to begin saying the Shema
before sunrise,
early enough before sunrise, so that we finish the blessing of Shema, which comes right after the Shema. They wanted us to finish that blessing right around sunrise, plus or minus a few minutes, because you can't be looking at the sun while you're praying. They don't want us to be looking at the sun, but they want us to finish the Shema and its blessings around the time of sunrise. And then they want us to begin saying the AMIDÁH prayer right when sunrise starts. This is the ideal way. This is the best way to do it, if you can. But if that is difficult, you still have until the latest time for Shema, which is more than a few hours later. It's like you have until 8:30, basically, currently. Like next Shabbat, you will have until 8:30 to say the Shema and still fulfill your obligation. That's even though in an ideal situation, the best situation, you do it right before sunrise. But if you do it after sunrise, before 8:30, you're still fulfilling your obligation. You did not do like a sin from the Torah.
Give me pause. Shema, సూర్యుడు ఉదయించడానికి ముందే మొదలుపెట్టి సూర్యుడు ఉదయించిన తర్వాత అమీదా చెప్పాలంట. అంటే ఉదయించేసరికి షమాని పూర్తి చేసేయాలి. అందుకని ఈ టైం ఫాలో అయితే మనము షమా చెప్పుకోవాలంటే సూర్యోదయానికి ముందే చెప్పేయాలి. ఒకవేళ అది వీలు పడకపోతే 8:30 లోపు ప్రేయర్ మొత్తం ముగించేసుకోవాలి.
Say this is currently. It changes throughout the year. Changes a little bit.
అర్థమైందా?
Okay. Thank you, Rabbi.
You're most welcome. Okay, so, and you can say the Shema and fulfill your obligation up until around 8:30 currently.
8:30 లోపు మనం కానీ షమాని ముగించేసామంటే ఆజ్ఞని పాటించిన వాళ్ళం అవుతాం అన్నమాట. అంటే చెప్పిన దాని ప్రకారం సేజెస్ చెప్పిన ఆజ్ఞని పాటించిన వాళ్ళం అవుతాం. లైక్ దట్ వాట్ అబౌట్ అరవిత్ టైం?
Okay.
మరియు
Before we go to Arvit, just remember that in halakha, there's very often a difference between what is ideal, the best way of doing something, and what is acceptable. Can you tell them that? There's often a distinction, a difference between what is the best way and what is acceptable.
బెస్ట్ వే యాక్సెప్టబుల్ మీన్స్
Acceptable means we are still doing our obligation. We did not sin.
ఫర్
It is not.
అరవిత్.
Okay, hold on. We will get to Arvit. We will get there. um, so ideally, you'd say the Shema right before sunrise. If you were not able to, you still have time to do Shema until this time. This is a example where you need to think about what is your community able to do. Although it is true that the best time to do Shema is right before sunrise, if you know that most people will not come if it is that early, if you do your community prayer that early, if you know that a lot of people will not come, it is better that you say Shema before sunrise by yourself. And then you can pray with your community at a time that they are able to do. You should always give consideration to what your community is able to do.
ఓకే, హియర్
That's
మై
very,
క్వశ్చన్.
very important.
Before we join in the community, we do only the Shema?
Before you do what? Before you join?
Before join the community, it
Oh,
means
joining? Okay.
only Shema we do, or we do our full prayer?
You don't have to do this, but it would be best if you do both. You don't need to do everything in the Siddur, but only the Shema and the AMIDÁH. You do Shema right before sunrise and AMIDÁH right when the sun rises. So you do
And
Shema right before and then the AMIDÁH right with. And then you can say it again with your community. But you don't have to do that. You are not sinning if you don't do that. This is a higher level of observance, meaning this is praiseworthy. If you do it, kol hakavod, good job. If you don't do it, you did not do a sin. That's not a sin.
ఓకే, ఒకవేళ మనము 6:40కి జాయిన్ అవుతున్నాం కదా జూమ్ లో ప్రేయర్స్ కోసం. కానీ సన్ రైజ్ ముందు షమా చెప్పేసేసి సన్ రైజ్ తర్వాత అమీదా చెప్పుకుంటే అది మనము ఆజ్ఞ ప్రకారం నడిచిన వాళ్ళం అవుతాం కదా. అందుకని ఎవరికి వాళ్ళు పర్సనల్ గా ముందుగానే లేవగానే ఈ సన్ రైజ్ టైం చూసుకొని, అంటే సూర్యోదయాన్ని చూసుకొని దానికి ముందు షమా చెప్పుకొని దాని తర్వాత అమీదా, ఈ 2 ప్రేయర్స్ చెప్పేసుకోండి మీరు పర్సనల్ గా. తర్వాత జూమ్ లో జాయిన్ అయిన తర్వాత మనం 8:30 లోపు మనం ప్రేయర్స్ ముగించేసుకుంటున్నాం కదా. ఈ కమ్యూనిటీ మొత్తం కలిసి ఎలా ప్రేయర్ చేసుకోవచ్చు అని చెప్తున్నారు. ఎందుకంటే సూర్యోదయానికి ముందే షమా చెప్పుకోవటం మంచిది.
Now, when you pray as a community, you do need to make sure that your community knows that they should say the Shema at least before this time. This is the latest time to fulfill the obligation if you want to be careful about it.
In the Sabbath also.
Every day of the week. It doesn't matter what day it is. But
సబ్బాత్ కదా అని లీజర్ గా పడుకొని ఎప్పుడో లేసి చేయటం కాదు. ఏదైనా సరే ఆ టైంకి కంప్లీట్ చేసేసుకోవాల్సిందే. పొద్దున్నే షమా చెప్పటానికి టైము 8:29 ముందే చెప్పేయాలి. కానీ 5:17 లోపే 5:56 లోపే సన్ రైజ్ వస్తే సన్ రైజ్ కు ముందు షమా చెప్పుకుంటే చాలా మంచిది.
But tell them they should remember that these times change a little bit throughout the year. It depends on the season. So it's useful to remember this website. There are other websites similar. They will all say, basically, they say the same thing. So you need to check.
ఈ మై జమానిమ్ అనే వెబ్సైట్ కి వెళ్ళి మనం మన ఊరు పేరు కొడితే మనకి సన్సెట్ సన్ డౌన్ సన్ రైజ్ సన్ డౌన్ ఇవి రెండు టైమింగ్స్ అన్ని ఇక్కడ దొరుకుతాయి. ఈ టైం ప్రకారం మీ టైం మా టయాల ప్రకారం మీరు ముందుగానే షమా మీద చెప్పేసుకొని తర్వాత 6:40కి మన కమ్యూనిటీ ప్రేయర్ లో జాయిన్ అవ్వండి. ఇది చాలా మంచిది. అట్లాగే మనకి సీజన్ కూడా మారినప్పుడు టైం కూడా మారుతా ఉంటది కదా, అందుకని ఈ వెబ్సైట్ ఫాలో అయితే అంటే చాలా మంది ప్రపంచంలో ఉన్న యూదులు ఇది ఫాలో అవుతారు, అందుకోసం మనం కూడా ఫాలో అవుదాం. ఇది తీసుకులా మిస్ అవుతుంది.
Okay, so for the AMIDAH of the morning, if for some reason they started very, very late, you can still say the AMIDAH of the morning until the time that Minha comes. You're not supposed to do that. You should not wait that long. But if you do, you can still say the Shaharit prayer, AMIDAH, as long as it's before Minha. Once the time for Minha comes, you should say Minha first, and then you can say the Shema if you want to make it up. Did I say Shema? Then you can say the AMIDAH of the morning. But once the time for Minha comes, you need to do the Minha prayer first.
And
so this is the earliest you can say Minha in Chirala currently. That's
yes,
the earliest.
In Chirala, you did that Shahrit and Minha, both you mixed that.
What?
In Chirala,
Yeah.
when we are doing Sabbath prayers,
Okay.
and we started at 10:30 like that. We started Shahrit 10:30, and
Okay.
we continues that Minka also. So this is not.
Yeah, Minha should not be done before the earliest time for Minha. Should not be done. And you do not have to do Minha at this time. It's good if you do, but you do not have to. This is just the most early that you're supposed to do it. But you're allowed to do it after this time. You should not do it before. You can do it after this time until sunset. Once it's sunset, it's too late to do Minha.
మిన్హా ఎప్పుడు చెప్పుకోవాలంటే 12:30కు ముందుగా మాత్రం మిన్హా అని చెప్పుకోకూడదు. కానీ తర్వాత నుండి 6 వరకు 6:15 6:18 వరకు సన్సెట్ అవ్వక ముందు వరకు మిన్హా అని చెప్పుకోవచ్చు.
Do you do Musaf? Do you know the Musaf prayer?
Yeah.
So Musaf you can say before this time. Musaf you can say after the morning AMIDAH.
Okay. Then what about Arvit time?
Okay, so Arvit has two parts. You have Shema and you have the AMIDAH. The Shema part of Arvit, you cannot fulfill your obligation until 3 stars appear.
Okay.
Many people in the Jewish world, they will say the Shema of Arvit before sunset. But when they do that, they have not fulfilled their obligation. They're doing it so that they can say the AMIDAH of Arvit. And really, it's kind of a problem that they do this, because all of the scholars say if you say Shema before sunset, then you need to say the Shema again after the 3 stars appear. So that's a problem. It's better to just wait until 3 stars appear for the Shema of Arvit. You can say it before sunset, but again, if you say Shema of Arvit before sunset, you need to do it again after. And most people don't. Most people who say it before sunset, they never say it after, and that's a big problem.
Okay. ఒకవేళ అరవిత్ కొంతమంది అరవిత్లో శమ మీద సన్సెట్ సూర్యాస్తమయానికి ముందే చేయవలసి వస్తే ఆ తర్వాత అయినా మళ్ళీ ఆ సూర్యాస్తమయం అయిన తర్వాత ఆకాశంలో 3 నక్షత్రాలు కనపడిన తర్వాత మళ్ళీ ఖచ్చితంగా అరవిత్ చేయాల్సిందే. అందుకని సన్‌సెట్‌కి ముందు అరవిత్ చెయ్యకండి. సన్‌సెట్ అయిన తర్వాత చీకటి పడి నక్షత్రాలు కనపడిన తర్వాత మనం ఎట్లా సబ్బాతుని 3 నక్షత్రాలు కనపడితే ముగిస్తున్నామో పండగల్లో, అట్లాగే సాయంత్రం పూట చేసుకునే అరవిత్ కూడా 3 నక్షత్రాలు ఆకాశంలో కనిపించిన తర్వాత మాత్రమే చెయ్యాలి. Then what about bedtime Shema?
So the bedtime Shema, it's a rabbinic concept. Whereas the Shema of Arvit is to fulfill the Torah obligation. So the bedtime Shema, you say right before you go to bed, whenever you go to bed. There's not a time that you have to go to bed. If you stayed awake all night and you stay awake in the morning, everything, you don't have to say the bedtime Shema. That's not a Torah obligation.
And here my question is, in bedtime Shema, we are reading 2 or 3 prayers. After that, Shema also, full Shema.
Okay, that's unnecessary. If you want to do it, that is good. If you want to, but if you see that is too difficult for your family or your community, you
Not
need
community. We are doing the bedtime
just your family.
Shema.
Okay.
Just.
Okay. So number one, it's not required. However, if you did not say the Shema after the 3 stars appeared, then you should do that.
Okay.
If you did not say Shema after the 3 stars appeared yet, if you had not already said the Shema after the 3 stars appeared, then definitely that is a proper thing to do, to at least say all of the Shema for bedtime Shema. But the standard bedtime Shema, it assumes you already said the Shema of Arvit. It's assuming you already did. So if you already said Shema of Arvit, then when you do bedtime Shema, you only need to say this blessing and then the first paragraph. That's all.
Okay. And is it necessary to do the nighttime prayer, Ribono Shel Olam?
No. It's not. Hamapil is a rabbinic obligation. We are supposed to say this, but Ribono Shel Olam, I'm not sure. This is the only obligation that's mentioned in the Mishneh Torah. And you can find these laws in the Laws of Prayer, Hilchot Tefillah, chapter 7, and the second halakha. It says, if you fell asleep, you became overcome by sleep, you're about to fall asleep, you're struggling to stay awake, then it's enough to just say the first verse. You don't even have to do all of this. You don't even have to do all of this if you're struggling to stay awake. Just say the first verse and that's good enough.
Okay.
Now, I want to show you guys where you can find these laws in more detail, and you can know that Rabbi Yosef is not making it up. But you can find a lot more detail. So we want to go to Chabad. You can go to any Mishneh Torah, but the Chabad has it in English. Go to search, Mishneh Torah. Okay? Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, you click here.
Sorry, sir, Rabbi. Sorry for the disturbance.
What? I didn't understand what you said. Say it
Shalom,
again.
shalom, Rabbi.
Shalom.
I am John Peter. I'm John Peter.
Shalom uvracha. Peace and blessings on you. How are you doing?
Yeah, thank you. Fine. Thank you. How are you, Rabbi?
Baruch Hashem.
Oh, Baruch. Thank God. Rabbi, is there any particular reason for timing before sunset, after sunset, or star appear? Why the Shema? Yeah.
Yes.
Is there any particular? Suppose
yes,
in
yes.
case I could not keep time, so shall I tell Shema, or otherwise I leave it? Keep
Yes. Yes, there are reasons. I did not understand the last sentence you said. Can you say your last sentence? You said, otherwise I leave it? What did you say?
In case, suppose over particular day I have some work, that time I can't keep up that time, no?
Ah.
So that time, shall I, after timing also, shall I say Shema, or otherwise I leave it or skip it?
Oh, excellent question. Very good question. If there's some kind of an emergency, or you have to take care of your work. If you don't work, you can't eat. No food, right? No electricity. So if there's some kind of work emergency, health emergency, and you cannot say all of the Shema in the correct time, it's sufficient. It's enough if you just say the first sentence of the Shema or the first paragraph.
Okay.
You do not need to say everything. Okay? But this is in emergencies. And then if you find enough time afterwards, you can say the whole thing later on in the day.
Yeah.
Always remember the Shema. In the Shema, it says you should love Hashem, your God, with all your heart, soul, and ability. You love Hashem with all your heart, soul, and your ability. It does not say, God never commanded us to love him with more than we are able. It says, b'chol me'odecha, with all you are able, not with more than you are able.
Oh, I see.
Right? God is reasonable. It is us, we humans who make God unreasonable. But God is the master of reason.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you have emergency for some reason,
thank you, Rabbi.
Happily. Hashem yivarech otcha. God bless you. Okay, so if you want to see these laws in more detail, you go to Mishneh Torah. This is the only complete code of Jewish law, the only one that we have on earth. So the Rambam codified all the laws that you find in the Mishnah and the Talmud, Tosefta, everything. You click here. Okay, we clicked. Now we see the table of contents for all of the Mishneh Torah. I want someone to tell me, where do you think we will find the laws for prayer? Right? I'm giving you a hint because I'm leaving the page right here. Where should I go to find the laws about the time for prayer?
For prayer timings?
Yes. Where do you think it would be?
It would be, we saw that in my ZMANÍM.
Very good. So my ZMANÍM, it shows you the prayer times, but my ZMANÍM is a modern website that is calculating the times based on what we find in halakha. But my ZMANÍM is not a book of halakha, right? They just did the hard work for us. They made it easy for us. But in the Mishneh Torah, where should we go? Right here, I'm showing you this is the layout, the structure of Mishneh Torah. Where should I go to find the laws of prayer?
Sefer ZMANÍM.
Sefer ZMANÍM? That's what you were talking about. I'm sorry, I thought you said my ZMAN. Sefer ZMANÍM, that's a very good guess. But Sefer ZMANÍM talks about the holidays. So we're going to go to the Book of Love.
Sefer Ahwa.
Yeah, Ahava. Okay, so we go to the Book of Love, Sefer Ahava, because prayer is one of the ways we show the love of God. And then we go to Tefillah. Tefillah means prayer. QRIÁTH SHMÁ means the reciting Shema, reading Shema. So if you want to see the details of the laws about Shema and the time for Shema, you go to QRIÁTH SHMÁ. Okay? Now, if you want to read the laws for prayer and the time for prayer, you go to Tefillah. And you can do this by yourself. You do not have to wait for our class. And here you will find all the details.